was about the dogs. Nah, it's about power. Yeah. Put up to the specialty, sunrise on the ground. Dogs in the grooming tents, whispers all around. Catalog smiles with the tension in the air. Every handshake got a hidden little snare. Bored in the back room, running quiet little schemes. Bylaws in the pocket like a stack of poker dreams. Players for the breed, but they guarding their throne. If you question anything, they coming for your bone. Grievance in the envelope, certified mail. Club justice system, but the deck.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody had a good lunch. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Hopefully, we will get started fast. I'm going to turn off my camera and volume for just a minute, finishing up lunch myself. Hopefully, I'll turn it back on as soon as we get back into court. So I will be right back. Hey, baby. I'm gonna finish playing this thing like Nolan Wells, but every time I go to think about playing it, they move the camera. No.
When I said Nolan was like my brother, I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go and get everything of his so I can get his car, I can go home. She walks off. 2 or 3 minutes later, he come back. I don't see the keys. Okay. So I leave out the house, go back outside, stand by the car. During that time, one of the guys that was in the house, one of the other friends, he was on the phone with a girl who was apparently there with them earlier that day. And she was telling him that his keys was on top of the Xbox in his room. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and we're still out by the car. And lo and behold, here comes the keys. So now to me, you lied to me 3 times. I don't believe nothing that you tell me on out.
And this is Jax.
This is Jax.
And eventually he does give you the keys.
Yeah, eventually give me
But there was friction getting the keys.
Yes. So for one, you tell me my son is on left still on the island with a girl. 2, you have his phone. And 3, you don't give me the keys when I ask. I don't know any father who would believe just if one of my friends did that. I'm gonna be cordial with you, but I'm gonna watch you. And I just
Ben, I want to ask you, because I'm hearing these 2 parents who essentially had to become search and rescue or law enforcement, looking for their own child with such a lack of urgency on behalf of law enforcement. Obviously, we're talking to Black journalists. We can't ignore the ugly racial history of Mississippi. I looked into the demographics of the Jackson County Sheriff Department. It's quite asymmetrical, but also just the general attitude and the lack of value when it comes to Black life. Does this sound like a normal process?
Yeah, I got to tell you guys, I think that Nolan's parents are delusional, right? I really do believe that they're delusional just listening to them talk, right? Like, listen to Nolan's father, and I'm saying that in quotes because there is some dispute about whether or not that's actually his biological father or whether or not that's his stepdad. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. Either way, right? This guy's beef with Nolan's friends is that they allegedly lied to him 3 times. He said that they lied when they told him that last time they saw Nolan, he was with a girl at the beach, which to me, it just kind of seems like the parents refused to accept the idea that their son would stay on the beach trying to clap cheeks, right? I mean, like, they just seem to not want to believe that. Not that it was a lie, they just don't want to believe it. They had Nolan's cell phone, right? Which they were told up front, right? That, hey, we have the cell phone. When she started checking the GPS, it was like, oh yeah, we got his phone. So they weren't really trying to hide that. I'm not entirely sure why they consider that to be a lie. And then also because they didn't know where his keys were at immediately when they asked, right? So Nolan's father pulled up to the friend's house, basically looking for the keys. The friend initially didn't know where the keys were at until some other friend called and told him where the keys were at. He went and got the keys and gave it to the father. And apparently to them, that creates this big mystery where the friends are no longer trustworthy. I can't believe anything they say, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, this is delusion. You just don't want to believe anything. Right? It seems to me that you want to create some type of mystery out of this when it's not really a mystery. So with that being said, I want to play a clip, give you guys the full context of some of the text messages that were sent that night, particularly between Warren and Christine Wells. Take a look.
Look at the text messages that were sent. And you tell me that Warren Hudson murdered her son. Now, just so you guys know, Warren initiated this phone call and communication with Christine Wells. He called her the night that Nolan did not come back like they expected. He asked her, is it okay if I call the Coast Guard? They had a short communication and he calls the Coast Guard. He told me in the interview that we interviewed him on that he told Miss Christine that he had Nolan's phone and keys. That's what he said he told her. Now, if you done kill somebody, 9 times out of 10, you ain't talking to their mama. But listen how the conversation went, though. I'll read them to you. Warren, where's his car? I think, what is this, on the 4th? This is on the 4th. Let me look over here, because at 11:15 p.m. Warren, where's his car? At Jax's house. Where is that? Can you send me the address where you guys launched? Yes, ma'am. He goes on to send her the address. What was the last time you saw him? He said 3 p.m. and sent her to actual location. That don't seem like somebody that's trying to obstruct or hide something. What happens next? What was he wearing? Black shorts and sunglasses. Now, in the interview, he told me that he thought they were black. We see now that it's blue. He said he thought it was black shorts. Can you call, I guess that's the lady at DMR. He says, on the phone with Coast Guard now. I will after, yes, ma'am. They're communicating. If she had a question or a concern or what, she could text it to him right here. He's responding to her, yes, ma'am. Can you call DMR? Yes, ma'am, I will. I'm on the phone with the Coast Guard right now. On the phone with the Coast Guard doing what? Trying to coordinate them to look for his friend Nolan. She don't say, she's not, this doesn't sound like this some random kid. She says, thank you so much. We have to file a missing person report. So one more time, tell me exactly where you saw him last. I'm so sorry. I am asking you to repeat this. It does not seem like she got a problem with him. He says, no problem. 3 p.m., west tip, north side of Horn Island. Where did you guys launch from? He sent her another ping of where they launched from. Told her exactly where he saw Nolan and what time. Okay. He said, we launched the boats yesterday evening and left from here this morning. Does this sound like a kid that trying to cover up a murder? Giving her exactly where you launched from? Giving her exact locations?
No, it doesn't, right? It doesn't sound like somebody who murdered Nolan Wells, which is what the pro-blackities have speculated, that his white friends lynched him, right, with no evidence whatsoever. And what I find to be so fascinating, right, about these text messages, that these text messages, again, basically prove that it is very, very, very unlikely that Nolan's friends murdered him, okay? But the pro-blackities, the ones that are basically peddling these conspiracy theories, they're not talking about that, right? I mean, look at Don Lemon. Don Lemon talks about Nolan Wells every single day, right? Every single day, according to him, there's a major Nolan Wells update, right? He's talking about Nolan Wells every single day. But Don hasn't covered these text messages, right? Why hasn't Don covered these text messages to Christine Wells, basically outlining how the friends tried to help them find Nolan, right? They were very concerned about Nolan, right? Sending condolences, communicating, cooperating, which is something that, you know, the family and Ben Crumb have basically accused him of, you know, being a distraction.
All right, counsel, we ready for the jury?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. All right, Commonwealth.
Dr. Mack, before we broke, we were talking about protective factors in suicide. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Can you just explain to the jury what a protective factor is?
Well, when a person is suicidal, they have risk factors and they have protective factors. Risk factors are those aspects of the individual that make it more likely that the person is going to act on their suicidal thoughts. And protective factors do the opposite. They are things that hold the person back from acting on their suicidal interests.
And in this case, you're aware that the defendant had previously indicated that her kids and her mother were reasons why she didn't continue with the thoughts of suicide in the past, right?
Well, objection, it's not the thoughts, it's the action. No, overall, you can answer.
No, it's the thought.
I'm not sure if your question is that kept her from acting on suicidal interests or
Right.
ideation.
I guess the important part I'm trying to piece together is it was her statements to professionals that her mother and her kids were reasons why she wouldn't have committed the act.
Correct.
Okay. And you are aware that at the time of the event or after the event, she indicated that a voice told her that she needed to kill the kids so that she could kill herself.
Yes.
And this was the same day that she then attempted to kill herself.
Correct.
Now, on the day of January 24th, 2023, you are aware that the defendant had reported that, for all intents and purposes, earlier in the day was a good day.
There are reports that earlier in the day was a good day.
And is the fact that she reported good feelings consistent with the suicidality or inconsistent?
I apologize. Did he say that she said she had a good day or someone else did? I just didn't hear that. Yeah, if you could maybe kind of bring that out, what that source is.
Well, as far as the reports of it being a good day, when you spoke with her, did she describe the events earlier in the day as a good day? Playing with the kids, that kind of thing?
She described the day as being a fun and productive day.
And you're aware that others reported, including her husband Patrick, that earlier that day it appeared to have been a good day.
Right. So one example is when Patrick was talking to the Child Welfare Agency that evening, I believe, he said that was the best day she had had in a long time.
So,
or something to that effect.
The fact that there were reports of it being a good day, is that inconsistent or consistent with the idea of the attempted suicide?
It's not inconsistent with suicide. It's also not inconsistent with the depressive disorder that she had. Much of the time, depression, major depressive episodes start to recover after around 3 or 4 months. It also is in my own view in psychiatry, and I believe others, an awareness that as a person is beginning to recover from the worst of their depression, sometimes suicides do happen when the person starts developing a little bit more energy and ability to act on their interests.
So in your experience, do people sometimes display those positive feelings immediately prior to either an attempt or a suicide?
Yes, that is something that does happen in my experience. While they're still very depressed, but they begin to be on the trajectory towards relative improvement.
Now,
Weird.
just going back for a quick second,
Why?
you had talked a little bit about hallucinations, and you described different types of hallucinations, meaning things that you can taste or hear or see, right?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the what's called command hallucinations?
Yes.
What are those?
Command auditory hallucinations are a type of hallucination where you're hearing something and it is telling you of an expectation for you to do.
And are those things usually persistent?
It can be, it can vary sometimes. It can be persistent. Other times it can be sporadic.
Going to your conversation with the defendant on about the events of January 24th, 2023, you in your interview with her were able to speak with her about her recollection of that day, correct?
Yes.
And one of the things that was done in that interview was that she was explaining what happened in chronological order, right? From the beginning of the day to the last thing she could remember.
That's correct.
Did she also tell it to you in reverse?
She was asked to recite it in reverse, yes.
And did she tell the same story forwards and backwards?
Yes.
Was she able to recall details of some parts of the day but not others?
Yes, I would say that's correct.
And did she describe to you when she heard this voice?
Her experience that is called a voice occurred in the late afternoon.
Do you recall what she reported about the voice?
Her experience was that the voice was of a male and it was loud.
And what did the voice say?
The voice said to the effect of, you should kill the kids. This is your last chance so that you can kill yourself.
And what did she say happened after she heard this voice?
She engaged in the activity of taking her children's lives.
And she was able to describe to you how she did that, correct? And she first stated that she took Dawson down to the basement.
Yes.
And then wrapped the exercise band around his neck and strangled him.
Yes.
And what did she say that she said when she did that?
She described that while that was happening, she was saying out loud, go to God.
And did she describe the same for both Cora and then Callan?
Essentially, yes.
And the voice that she said she heard, was it one time or more than one time she heard the voice?
Multiple times is what she described.
And after she had killed the kids, did the voice continue in her report?
I don't remember that it did. It may have, I don't remember.
And then after the kids were gone, she then made an effort to take her own life, correct? And how did she do that?
Right, so she did. She described that she went ahead to take her life or attempt to take her life with multiple steps. She went to her room upstairs in the house and took the various medications that were present. She cut at her wrists and at her neck, and then she caused herself to fall from the window.
Okay. And as far as going out the window, did she tell you whether she had to do anything with the screen?
She described to me that she cut the screen.
Okay. And then she dove out the window.
Well, objection, that's not what he said.
Well, what did she do after she cut the screen?
She fell from the window.
Did you ask her, or was there conversation about the phone call that she received from Patrick?
There was.
And was she able to clearly identify when the call came from Patrick?
I don't exactly recall exactly when, but it was sometime in the around 18 to 20 minutes that this was happening that she received that call.
Do you recall if part of the conversation about the timeline of events, whether the voice came as soon as Patrick left the house or before or after the phone call?
My recollection is that it happened as soon as Patrick had left.
Now, were there some things in what she was telling you about the events that was different from what you reviewed from other information in this case?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'm just asking if you recall that there were things in the version that she told you in your interview that were different or not consistent with the information you knew about the case.
Well, two things come to mind. One is the locking or the closing of the bedroom door, and the other is the cutting of the screen of the window.
Okay, and as far as the locking or closing of the bedroom door, do you recall what she told you about that?
She denied that she had done that.
And so from the information you reviewed about reports from Patrick and everything else, did you know that the door had been locked?
That was my understanding.
And the second thing that you indicated about the screen, what information did you have about the screen that was different from what she reported to you?
I believe there was a question as to whether the screen had been cut, perhaps with a sharp.
And as far as the going out the window piece of it, you were aware that she didn't have any head injury, correct?
Yes, I am.
That she had the spinal injuries, the C1 injury, but no injuries to her head.
Correct.
And as far as her report of taking medication or taking pills, did you know whether she took all the pills that she had in the house or?
Well, I'm not sure about the house. She described all the pills in her bedroom.
And were you aware that there were other pill bottles located in other parts of the house?
I'm not sure I knew that.
How about the phone call? She indicated that at the time of the phone call, she believed she had the baby in her hand and she was doing something like taking food out of the fridge or getting food ready for the kids. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And were you aware, do you recall seeing crime scene photos that show that the kids' bowls were in the living room?
Yes.
And that Patrick later reported that he had seen Dawson eating green beans and chicken nuggets before he left the house? Were you aware of that? So, Dr. Mack, based on your review of this case, were you able to come to an opinion to a degree of medical certainty about whether this defendant was suffering from a mental disease or defect on January 24th of 2023?
Yes, I did.
And what is that opinion?
That, yes, she was suffering from a mental disease or defect, namely major depressive episode as a part of major depressive disorder.
And as far as the substantial capacity to appreciate wrongfulness or criminality of conduct, were you able to come to an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty about that?
Yes.
And what's your opinion regarding that?
That she had retained that capacity.
And what information do you rely upon to come to that conclusion?
The first point is that this was a continuation. Her mental state at that time was a continuation of the mental state she had had for months. And it was a mental state that included the capacity to control her behavior and also to be able to conform her conduct to standards of law. So in that sense, first of all, there's not an indication to me that there was something that changed the overall capacity in that regard. Secondly, to the extent we are talking about the ability to conform her conduct to the law, one can analyze her actions and her behaviors and her thoughts on that day, or as close as possible to the moments of the deaths. And that includes taking one of her children to a pediatrician that day, engaging in fun activities around the house that day, having engaged with one of her children's teachers the day before, having engaged in normal conversations with the restaurant that she ordered food from, 3V, and then also interactions with the pharmacy, CVS, where she was getting the Miralax from. So in all these places, there was the ability to act normally. There doesn't seem to be any deviation from where she had been all along, which included this capacity. Furthermore, I would add that as a part of her interactions with the community or in driving, she had abided by law and abided by standards of the community at all those times. So there isn't necessarily that afternoon.
So you're speaking about her ability to conform conduct, which is one of the things we're talking about here. But I want to go back to the appreciation for wrongfulness or criminality. As far as that goes, were you able to form an opinion about that?
Yes, sorry about that.
That's
yes.
Okay. So what's your opinion about her ability to substantially conform, or excuse me, her substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness or criminality of her conduct?
So I again would go to thinking about what had been her state of mind for at least the month prior, the several months prior. And in all that time, there wasn't any feature that indicated that she didn't have that capacity. But furthermore, when there were moments when she thought about harming the children, when she had the thoughts about that, she was aware in those moments beforehand that was wrong or against the law, and that she could be punished.
She could be punished
for such an act.
Right.
You're referring to the December conversation with her husband and her mom?
Yes, and her thoughts about the idea that if anyone knew what I was thinking, the children might be taken away from me.
Right.
And also, did the fact that she hadn't had any significant medication changes during that time period, does that also inform your opinion about that?
Well, as that aligns with what I was saying before about how, while depressed, her mental state was relatively stable. It was perhaps improving. I'm not sure about that, but it was stable. There.
Vote to strike that if he's not sure about it.
That answer is stricken. All right.
So the fact that she hadn't undergone any more significant medical or medication changes, I should say, did that signify to you that she had been in the same kind of state she had in the months before?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about the interaction with Dr. Tufts on January 23rd? Did anything about that suggest that there were any concerns or distress that would have changed her ability to appreciate wrongfulness of her conduct?
Doctor the day before.
In that interaction, she displayed normal thinking and the ability to think ahead and to navigate the world.
And what about the statements that she referred to when she was killing the kids, the go to God? Does that inform your opinion?
It does.
And why?
My understanding is that the sentiment "go to God" is a way of bestowing or thinking about the children as innocents, as ones who hadn't done wrong, while what she was doing was the opposite, was wrong, or could be construed as wrong. And so go to God not only was a hope for the children, but also a description of the situation.
Okay. And what about the report from her that the voice was telling her, this is your last chance? Is that significant to identify whether she would have had some knowledge or known that it was something that was wrong?
Well, to the extent that it was seen as her last chance, yes, because there was an awareness that it was something that would be disallowed by their father.
And as far as after the incident, when she woke up at the Brigham and Women Hospital, you're aware that she reported to the staff there that she was horrified, correct?
Yes.
And so the fact that she immediately afterwards identified that she was horrified, does that go to her capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct?
Yes. One can consider that her mental state, once she was removed from the dexmedetomidine, was similar to what it had been on January 24th. And in that regard, the feeling of horror, the feeling of shame that comes from being horrified indicates that she was aware that it had been the wrong thing to do.
And then finally, just to go back to the substantial capacity to conform conduct, you've told us a little bit about that, about the fact that her condition hadn't really changed all that much. You outlined what she did that day. But is there anything else to consider based on everything that you reviewed that would indicate to you that she did maintain the substantial capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law?
I think that in the household, she was engaging in this activity methodically, which highlights to me that there was an ability to conform her behavior to expectations of living in a household.
What do you mean methodically?
As I understand the deaths, they were done methodically, and I think you asked me about that earlier, one by one, in a way that was organized, and that was intended to achieve a particular goal. Similarly, her attempt at suicide was organized and thoughtful in a sense that it included as many possible methods as possible.
Yeah.
And as far as the killings of the children methodically, did she report to you in any way that she was given direction by this voice on how to complete the act and what exactly to do?
No, she did not.
And what about the call with Patrick? Is there anything about that indicates that she maintained some control or the ability to control herself, where she did engage in a short conversation with him?
Well, that aligns with what we were talking about before in terms of being aware that he would disapprove or disallow this, and yet she didn't say anything. She didn't say help, or she didn't say, I'm having these thoughts, so it wasn't stated.
You need to come home right now.
So again, as far as your overall evaluation of this defendant, Lindsay Clancy, regarding the events of January 24th, 2023, what ultimately is your opinion to a degree of medical certainty regarding criminal responsibility?
My opinion is that she retained the capacity that required for having criminal responsibility for these actions.
Thank you. Oh, and I would just like to admit Dr. Mack's CV is the next.
Any objection? That may be admitted.
That was a good one. Yeah, she didn't tell him. When she talked to him on the phone, she didn't tell him what she was doing or help, I need help, or anything. You need to get home right now. Really kill the kid. That was good. Because he would disapprove.
Dr. Mack, part of your evaluation would be an intent to investigate the person that you're being asked to evaluate for purposes of an opinion regarding criminal responsibility or lack thereof for the district attorney's office,
Yeah,
correct?
your people did.
What do you mean by investigate?
You don't know what investigate means? You want me to explain that to you?
You might,
You're a psychiatrist that's employed by the district attorney, right?
retained by, yes.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna talk semantics. It's employed by, retained by, mean that you get money from it, right?
I'm paid for my time, yes.
Exactly. And normally, I don't even go there. Every one of us are getting paid for our time. Jurors, not so much, but nevertheless, you get paid for your time, right?
Correct.
I get paid for my time. The judge, Chrissy, Don, everybody gets paid for their time, right?
I imagine, yes.
So when you are retained by the district attorney's office, you are to evaluate an individual, right?
Yes.
And the individual in this case is Lindsay Clancy, correct?
Yes.
And you recognize her, do you not?
I do.
And you actually had a chance to meet with her and do your evaluation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And part of your evaluation, you had to investigate into who she was. For example, her education, what she did for work, friends, family, right?
I asked her about her life and I reviewed records to learn about her life, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're in a mental institution investigating or questioning a woman who's on medication,
Okay.
who is there because she's suicidal
Is this
and under 101 24/7 observation. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And you get the history from her?
Yes.
So did you talk to any collateral contacts?
No.
So how is it that you can tell this jury what her life story is?
this is
Did
the
you get it from her?
this is the whole
I got it from
bullshit that you
her
play with the other
to the extent that, well, I'm sorry,
What did she tell
what,
you
can you
about
say
her-
your,
Never mind looking at the judge. What did she tell you about the education?
Wait, listen,
This is
you look over there and listen to the question and answer the question.
Can you say the question,
Let him
please?
answer the question.
What did she tell you about? I'm sorry.
Ask the question,
What did she
answer
tell
the
you?
question, and we'll go from there.
What did she tell you about her education?
She described her education in terms of being a hard worker through high school and college and then going to nursing school.
Okay, where'd she go to nursing school?
I think the nursing school was through Partners Healthcare, I think at the MGH.
And do you recall what the nature of the nursing was?
Well, she had always wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse, and she was able to achieve that.
So she worked as a labor and delivery nurse
That's my understanding, yes.
for a period of time,
For several years, yes.
9 years, 7 years?
I'm not sure exactly.
Did you talk to any of the nurses that she worked with? I mean, was she respected? Was she a hard worker? Was she somebody that was
What does it
checking
matter?
out early, didn't want to work?
relevance.
I
What
didn't talk to any of her colleagues.
this is
I'm aware that she had been there for some time, and I did not hear about any aspects in which her work was deleterious.
Who would you hear from, them?
Well, one might have heard it from the notes from her spouse. I might have heard it from the
Let's talk
defendant
about, let's
herself.
talk about one might have heard it. Is the one you're testifying?
Yes.
Did you hear about it through the notes of the spouse?
No, I didn't hear about any way in which her work
Okay, so why are you
wasn't.
telling me that? Why are you saying one might have heard about it through the notes of the spouse?
Well, I think your question was, how would one learn about any deleterious acts or components of the person's work? So I didn't hear about any way in which she wasn't working hard and retained as a nurse at an excellent institution.
So basically, you don't know, is what you're telling me. You don't know what her reputation for work ethic was. You don't know what her hours were. You don't know
what does
her
it matter?
reputation
It
in
doesn't
her
have anything to
work
do with
community was. You just don't know. Isn't that right?
Combined with the records and also the report from Dr.
it is.
Resnick, who described her own view of herself as being a hard worker, I don't know further than that.
So in addition to being a labor and delivery nurse at Mass General Hospital for a number of years, you knew that she obviously was married, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
And her husband was Patrick.
right.
yes.
You know how many years she was married, right?
I do.
How many?
I don't know it offhand, but I believe I understand or knew the date when they were married, which may have been 2013.
So the fact that she was married, you know, that did she want to have kids or did she find them to be a burden?
She very much wanted to have children. She described that that was her lifelong interest.
Had one child for, right?
I can't hear you.
The first child was Cora, right?
Yes.
Did she have any delivery issues with Cora?
What does this matter?
Not that I recall.
How about the second child? What was the second child's name?
Dawson.
And how old was Dawson at the time of the incident, as we say?
I think he was around 4.
And did she have any issues with his delivery?
Do you mean the delivery or in the postpartum period?
I mean the delivery.
If I recall, I think she had a tear, which is called an episiotomy, and that was something she was unhappy about.
Sure. Did she have medication prescribed to her after Dawson?
Yeah, she didn't take it.
Do you mean psychiatric medication?
Sure.
At some point, I think she was prescribed an antidepressant medication in that period.
What was it?
I think it was sertraline.
And do you know whether she took it?
No.
She has told us that she did not.
And when she went home after having the baby, Dawson, she then came home to a little daughter, obviously Cora, had Dawson as an infant, correct?
Yes.
And was she living in a town, or where was she living when she had these two kids?
I think she was living in the same house in Duxbury.
She was living in Weymouth? Or?
She may have been. I'm sorry, I don't know.
That's all right. So at some point she moves to Duxbury. She's with her husband and she goes back to work, does she?
Yes.
You didn't make any, in your investigation, you didn't come across any information that she didn't want to go back to work because she was lazy or just didn't want to work, right?
No, I think she always wanted to work.
Did she have anxiety about going back to work after Callan, the third child?
After Callum?
Yeah, Callan. It's Callan, C-A-L-L-E.
Yes. Yes. She wanted to go back. As August and September arrived, she was hopeful to go back to work, but she became anxious about working. There were other factors too. She became anxious.
No other factors yet. We'll get to the other factors. Why was she anxious about going back to work?
I was about to say,
Go ahead.
she was anxious about the well-being and nurturance of her children as she went back to work. One being that the baby was not taking a bottle. Another, that in that span between the point that her husband went back to work and she was expected to go back to work, it was overwhelming to have 3 young children that she was caring for all by herself. As time went on, she was ambivalent about hiring somebody to help, hiring a nanny, and that was another area of anxiety. So there were several areas of anxiety, and as we've discussed earlier today, anxiety was something that she had throughout her life.
I'm going to pull you in, okay? This is a cross-examination, sir.
All right, just ask the next question.
So when you say that she had anxiety, and the anxiety was about having her youngest child, Callan, correct?
Yes.
She was anxious about going back to work, correct?
Yes.
But you also, as you were waxing eloquently, indicated that she was having anxiety about having a nanny.
Yes.
What was she anxious about with the nanny?
You shouldn't trust them.
In my understanding,
No, what is your understanding? Tell the jury what you investigated about her anxiety with the nanny.
so through my evaluation, what I understood was that there was ambivalence about having a nanny, that is to say, having somebody who helped. There was some degree of wanting to be able to handle the children on her own. The other part of it is some ambivalence about other people other than herself, or perhaps her mother, caring for the children. Because I know that my evaluation discerned that she felt very positively about her ability to take care of her children, but also some ambivalence about other people taking care of the children.
What time frame are we talking about? Summertime, fall?
The end of summer, late August, early September.
Isn't it true that in the summer, she and Patrick and the kids felt that they were on top of the world, having a great summer, right?
Well, that's what she said. That's her quote.
Okay. And then come the fall, towards the end of September, that's when she started to have symptoms of anxiety, right?
Yes,
Up to this point in your investigation, you have a young woman who was a nurse for a number of years. We assume from your investigation, a good reputation as a hard worker, right?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one of the things that you had mentioned is that how about exercise? Did she like to do exercise?
Yes, in the past, exercise was her.
Yes, right?
Would
Yes.
you let him finish?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, I can repeat the question. I asked you, sir,
I'm objecting because he's interrupting the witness and not letting him answer
The
the
question called for a yes or no answer. All right. And so
Wow.
go ahead.
go ahead.
Can you state the question, please?
Sure. You mentioned in direct examination for the DA that she was
Surely didn't let that
going to
happen with
do exercise.
the other lawyer,
Correct?
his lawyer.
And
We were
would you
allowed to
consider
ramble
a person
on,
who
or his
is
psychiatrist
an exercise
is allowed to ramble on.
aficionado,
What the
especially
hell?
one who, for example, runs, let's say, a 5K or a 5-mile road race within about a couple of weeks after having a baby? Is that hyper-exercise? Is that hypomanic? Okay.
In of itself, it's not hypomanic, no.
How about if there's a string of exercise that is a little bit out of the norm, coupled with decluttering, removing personal property from the home, cleaning out the home, things of that nature? Would that be hypomanic in your opinion?
Not in and of itself, but are you talking, when you were asking about exercise, were you talking about in the period 2022 or 2020?
2022.
Okay.
After Callan. Okay? And I asked you about running the road race after Callan. Okay? You with me?
Yes, I am.
So would you suggest, sir, that that is something that one would at least anticipate, consider, or investigate as being this manic or hypomanic that you're talking about?
No.
No.
So, by the way, one of the questions that you were asked, sir, is that when you got involved with investigating this case, do you recall that from the DA?
So
Do you recall that from the DA?
the term investigate, if it's okay, I'll use the term evaluate.
When you got
but,
appointed or retained by the
Right.
DA?
So, and your question is?
My question is, when were you retained by the district attorney, the prosecutors?
It was sometime in early 2025.
Early 2025. So like what, February, January?
I think the reach out had occurred in maybe December of 2024, and I think that the retention was early in 2025.
What's a reach out?
Well, the communication, the reaching out
From?
from the district attorney's office.
Okay. And then when you were asked that question, you indicated that you had to wait for motion to be filed or something with the court. Do you recall answering that question?
No.
Well, if I suggest to you, sir, it was in December of 2024 that a notice of lack of criminal responsibility was filed. Does that seem to fit with the reach out?
objection. Can we approach?
Sure.
This psychiatrist is probably like, this guy has a mental capacity issue. Why is it? This is the part that I hate, is that his lawyers are allowed to make their inference off of fresh eyes, not looking, blah, 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 not talking, doing all this stuff. And I like to do this because I like to have fresh eyes, make my own diagnosis, all this stuff. And then as soon as the prosecutors have the same thing, it's no, you have to talk to all these people. You have to do all this stuff. It's what? He did the same thing with the psychiatrist. He made them look at look at everybody else's notes, ask everybody else about everybody else's notes that they weren't even there for. Like, this is so mind-boggling to me. Gives me a headache. Like, it's crazy. And then the judge yelling at him, that required a yes or no. He let Reddington's psychiatrist just ramble on and just say all kinds of crazy shit that had nothing to do with it. And facts weren't even in evidence. They saying stuff that wasn't even brought up in trial at all. This is wild. This is why the Commonwealth, all these states in the Commonwealth are crazy. They just fly by the seat of their pants, do whatever the fuck they want. Like, just it's wild. Wild work. I don't know how they're not objecting to him, like, badgering the witness. Like, you're badgering the witness. Yelling at him like that. You get me ice while you're up. Thank you. Yes. Apparently, you're supposed to have empathy for her because, you know, you're supposed to deep dive into her whole life. We're supposed to know that she was a good student, a good child. Next thing you know, we're going to get, like, you know, her kindergarten year photo. But she was such a good kid. She knew her ABCs going to school. Like, how do we just not, like, take and investigate this period of time, do all the investigation, and talk to her? Like, you went and you talked to her, you got the report from her? Well, yeah. Which coincides with what everybody else said. They all talked to her. Reddington's psychiatrist all talked to her, but this guy's not allowed to talk to her. Talking to her somehow made it different. But Reddington's psychiatrist talked to her, and that's okay. Well, they had empathy for her. They had empathy that she's not going to get out of the chair. Empathy that, you know, she was a good mom and she ran track and she, you know, did all this stuff. Just forget that she killed her kids. Because you're not agreeing. You're not agreeing with me, so you're not allowed to talk to her.
Thank you, Judge. So,
Wild.
Your understanding of the procedure is that a notice has to be given to the court that a person like Lindsay is raising the issue of criminal responsibility, correct?
I imagine that's the case, but I don't know the procedure here in Massachusetts in that regard.
Okay, you don't know the procedure?
The procedure for making notice?
Right.
No, I do not.
If I tell you, sir, that the notice is filed in December of 24, when was it that you had the reach out?
The first communication about the case was in, as I said a few minutes ago, in late 2024.
And do you recall the circumstances of that communication? DA call you, a letter, or what?
2024.
No, I was contacted through a retention firm called Park Dietz and Associates.
Dietz?
Mhm.
Park, he's a psychiatrist, isn't he?
It sounds like you know him.
I do know him. And actually, Park Dietz is a rather famous psychiatrist, is he not?
Yes.
He's testified in many cases, correct?
Yes, but
Overruled.
And how's this?
I said Park Dietz and Associates. I didn't say Park Dietz himself.
Okay, well, you know Park Dietz, I imagine, right?
I do.
Yes. And you know that he's the guy that testified in the case and cited a Law and Order episode that didn't exist at the time he gave his opinion.
Sustained.
So is he still active?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is he a psychiatrist now?
Yes, he's a psychiatrist.
And on your letterhead, it says Park Dietz, D-I-E-T-Z, and Associates, forensic experts, right?
I can't see what you're looking at, but that's what the letterhead basically says.
Abram Mack, right?
I am.
Okay, and this is your curriculum vitae, right?
Yes.
And in big letters up above, it says Park Dietz and Associates, right?
Yes.
Now, how does that work? You get a call from this retention group, Park Dietz, and then you get assigned a case?
When an attorney or a district attorney's office contacts them, they might think that it might be a case that I might want to be retained on.
Okay, do they, to your knowledge, try to get someone that's familiar with that particular topic, or just anybody that has a random psychiatry degree?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, there are only certain people that they think of or consider, people that Dr. Dietz has thought of in terms of having a robust career and
You have a
background.
robust career?
I've been active as a teacher and as a clinician over about 22 years, and I've been a full professor at Penn and Jefferson and Georgetown.
So that's in your curriculum vitae, correct?
The 3 professor level appointments?
All of your stuff, the things you wrote, things that you're interested in, your fellowships, professorships, all that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's introduced into evidence by the DA, right?
Oh.
Yes.
So the jury's going to have it to look at, right?
Okay. I didn't know that.
Let's just take a look at it now. Is it your understanding that when you are, and I mean you individually, not Park Dietz Associates, requested to look at and investigate into the lack of criminal responsibility of a individual charged with a crime, that you got to try to be independent?
Being independent is the expectation.
The answer yes, you try to be independent?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is it appropriate for you to evaluate an individual with another Park Dietz associate guy?
You're referring to Dr. Habran?
I am referring to Dr. Halbert. He's another one of the DA's witnesses in this case, right?
Correct.
And you know Halbert, right?
I had not met him until we jointly went to do the evaluation this April.
Jointly went to do the evaluation. What
Yes.
did you do? Both ride in the same car over to Tewksbury to talk to her?
Oh,
No.
objection.
Did you have separate cars?
We did.
And then you met up beforehand and you went in to meet with Lindsay?
Yes. I
Both
think
of you
that was.
together? Both of you together?
Yes.
So you work under the umbrella of Park Dietz and Associates. Heilbrunn, who's going to be testifying Monday for the government, works under the umbrella of Park Dietz and Associates, and the both of you interviewed her at the same time, is what you're telling this jury?
Okay.
In your opinion, is that appropriate, sir?
Yes.
Did you talk to Kirk about your opinion?
We have talked about each other's opinion. We have different opinions as far as I understand it.
Did you talk to him about his report?
No,
No?
I have not talked to him about his
Have you
report.
talked to him about testifying here today?
Not in terms of content.
What does that
No.
mean?
The other day he called me and said, what day are you going up to Boston?
Okay.
And
Shipping up to Boston. Did you tell him?
no, I wasn't sure what day I was going up to Boston.
Okay. Did you review his report?
I have reviewed his report.
All right. And has he reviewed your report?
I don't know. I assume so, but I don't know.
Now, looking at your CV, you indicate that you educated at Cornell, you got your medical degree, you had some fellowships. Do you have any particular interest in your practice, sir?
Yes.
And you have licensure in Delaware, right?
Yes.
Pennsylvania,
Yes.
District of Columbia.
Not at the moment.
Says 2005 to the present, but not anymore.
Well, I'm not sure what date that CV is, but I allowed my DC license to not be renewed.
Maryland,
Same, I let it not be renewed.
New York,
I actually renewed that recently.
Massachusetts,
No, I haven't had that since I left here.
South Carolina,
I haven't renewed that in many years.
Connecticut,
Same,
Virginia.
same.
So what does that mean that you have licensure? Does that mean you can be a psychiatrist in these states as long as it's active, or what does that mean?
Licensure means that one can act as a physician when your licensure is in effect, yes.
Okay. And as far as professional and scientific societies, you belong to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, right?
Yes.
You belong to the American Academy of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, is that correct?
I don't belong to that group at the moment.
Well, did you? Is that in your resume?
Yes, there was a moment when I was the representative from the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry and the American Psychiatric Association and also the American Academy of Psychiatry and Law, of all three, to the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. So at that point, I was a member of the National Council.
So I asked you about your interests or focus as a doctor. Would you agree, sir, that one of the things you put down is that you were involved in ad hoc reviewerships in the Journal of American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, right?
It does say that, yes.
And then American Journal of Addictions.
Yes.
Pediatric Quality and Safety.
Yes.
That's dealing with little kids, right? Pediatrics.
Well, at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, we see patients up to 24.
Okay.
At Nemours, I believe up to 21.
So you also express interest in child psychiatry. This comes under academic responsibilities. Child psychiatry, right?
Yes.
You have been involved in the doctoring course for first-year medical students, right?
Yes.
Supervision of adult psychiatry residents, right?
Yes.
Clinical evaluation, Department of Psychiatry, dealing with children and adolescents, right?
I'm not sure that last one that you read, but.
Number 8 on.
No, but what does it say in its entirety?
Ongoing clinical education of PGY3 residents, Department of Psychiatry, Georgetown University Hospital, Institute for Children and Adolescents.
Do you mean Regional Institute for Children and Adolescents?
Resume, I don't know what it means.
I'm just wanting to make sure I'm responding to your question.
Do you have it with you? I mean, you can look at it.
The Regional Institute for Children and Adolescents was a residential center in outside the Beltway where I served for 3 years.
Okay, the focus nevertheless is on children and adolescents, right?
Not at that time. What you mean when I was at Georgetown?
I'm just looking at your resume.
Okay.
How about lecture of patient safety and quality improvement in child and adolescent mental health? Is that something that you were involved with as a lecturer, sir?
Yes, about patient safety and quality, yes.
Answer is yes?
Yes.
Just make it quick. You were a lecturer on a morass returns, adolescent cannabis, devil's lettuce, and other hallucinogen use.
Devil's lettuce.
Dealing with what, pediatrics, kids?
Yes.
Every time he says marijuana, devil's lettuce.
You also under lectures by invitation that you've been involved with lecturing on wither psychosis in adolescence, right?
That was the title of a paper I gave, yes.
So the answer is yes, right?
The answer is I gave that paper, yes.
Okay. Adolescents accused of murder or manslaughter, right?
Yes.
Okay. Wither psychosis, adolescent killers, a couple of years later, again, maybe an update, right?
Right.
Divorce for the clinician, right?
Right.
Divorce legal process and medical, social, and psychiatric sequelae, right?
Right.
Killer adolescents, drugs, school, and the courts, right?
Right.
Jumping ahead, 2014, for example, you had the morass returns, adolescent cannabis and other hallucinogens, right?
I imagine, yes. I don't know exactly which one you're looking at, but that's the title of a lecture that I was giving.
Childhood development and psychopathology, right? Is an interest, right?
It is an interest, yes.
Childhood development, again, in psychopathology, lecture to the United States Department of Justice, right?
Yes.
Lecturing to the United States Department of Justice, Department of Immigration, right?
Yes.
Cognitive bias think tank is another one of the lectures that you gave. Is that correct?
Well, it was a committee or a task force that I co-led about the prospect of diagnostic error when people have cognitive biases.
And what's a cognitive bias? Just curious.
So when you think about diagnoses, there's always a possibility that an individual is sort of guided to one diagnosis or another based on various forms of preconceptions or biases. So a major part of this concept of patient safety is to prevent misdiagnosis. And there are a lot of techniques that are used in medicine and in this case in pediatric hospitals and also in psychiatry to try to make sure that the users or the diagnosticians' biases don't creep into making the wrong diagnosis.
Research publications, sir, dealing with neuropsychiatric systemic lupus, erythematous age, and the neurodevelopment model. That's one of your research publications, right?
Yes.
Dealing with psychiatric classification from the ancients to DSM-4, psychiatric clinics of North America, right?
Yes.
Alcohol abuse is another
He's
research that you did.
Reading off all his papers.
I've written,
He's making him.
edited several textbooks on substance use disorders. Yes.
Okay. So in addition to child and adolescent aspects of psychiatry, you're also interested in focusing in on alcohol abuse, substance-related disorders, alcohol abuse disorders, addictive disorders, treatment of addictive disorders, right?
Those are some of the areas of interest, yes.
Novel risk factors for central line associated bloodstream infections in critically ill children, right?
Yes.
And it goes on and on with a lot of your focuses on children, minors, probate court, correct?
I don't know about probate court, but.
Well, you've had occasion to do evaluations for probate court, haven't you?
You'd have to remind me, there was a period when I was the physician leader of the state of Maryland's Office of Forensic Services.
Right.
So
that's what you said on direct, so that's why I'm asking it. But how about the new tools in the toolbox? Proactive prevention of CLABS, 1 in patients with behavioral health and concerns. What does that mean?
Well, CLABSI, central line associated bloodstream infections, are something that is a major concern of all hospitals around the country, and preventing them from happening is not only the work of cleaning the apparatus that touches patients, but also we learned that when patients have psychiatric problems, they actually are at a greater risk of developing a central line associated bloodstream infection, which is a significant complication of being in the hospital. So I started that work when I was at Georgetown, when I was an adult, mainly focused on adults, and carried it on when I was at Children's Hospital Philadelphia and at Nemours in terms of the pediatric risks for CLABSI.
Okay. How about clinical manual of adolescent substance abuse disorder? That's another one of your chapters, right?
I don't think I wrote a book about adolescent substance use.
Number 29, Mack A.H. Clinical Manual of Adolescent Substance Abuse Treatment, Journal of Psychiatric Practice.
Yeah, that was a chapter, not a book. But yes.
Okay, but nevertheless, your focus and your interest is on adolescents that like to smoke weed and drink, right?
No.
Okay. Would you agree, sir, that you were interested in the American Psychiatric Press textbook you wrote for substance abuse treatment, right?
Yes.
All right. And think like a psychiatrist, but always a doctor, be a doctor, web drugstore, perils, drugs, alcohol, bloodstream infections in children's hospital, focusing on that, right? Where in here does it say that you ever came within breathing distance of a pregnant woman and your practice and your interest in your writings?
So I remember being at the Brigham as a resident and
How long ago was
going
that?
to, how long ago was that?
Yeah, give us a year.
Well, you asked me when.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
starting.
when.
That was the memory I have for that particular situation was 2001.
2001, so 25 years ago.
Right.
What
And
did
so
you do?
since then, I went to the Medical University of South Carolina, and then I went to Georgetown, and all that period up until 2015, I was doing general psychiatry work with areas of focus in peds or in addictions, but also with forensics as an area. I see myself as somebody who's a generalist who happens to have a couple of areas of focus. In 2015, I did move from that generalist model to, when I left Georgetown, I moved to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania. And in those years, since then, I've been working in pediatric hospitals, where at CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the age is up to 24, and at Nemours, it's up to 21. So that is the overall area of adult and child psychiatry that I've been working in. Throughout the years at Georgetown,
Okay,
I would like to answer because I have more to tell you.
Let him finish the answer. Go ahead.
So at Georgetown, certainly that was all adult, and Georgetown has its own labor and delivery unit. And so that was plenty of engagement with women who were pregnant or who had just given birth. And then at both Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and at Nemours, there are these special units that have been designed for the last several years of high-risk pregnancy units. So actually at CHOP, one of my first roles there was to develop the psychiatry services coverage of the high-risk maternity unit there called the Special Delivery Unit. And I was the co-leader and then the leader of the consultation service at CHOP. And so I led the group of adult and child psychiatrists to tend to the psychiatric needs of that unit. Recently at Nemours, the same unit was built. And so yes, in these pediatric hospitals, there actually are units of women who are about to have birth, who have just had birth.
Well, I'm sure in these pediatric hospitals, there are women about to have birth and have had birth. And I'm sure that there are competent doctors that treat them, correct?
I agree with you.
How about you? How many women with post?
Oh my God, how about you? Is you calling him not confident?
Roughly 10 would be my estimate.
Over what period of time?
Over the period since 2001.
And when you would treat these women, would you be involved in, for example, testing them for their mental health?
Well, usually the teaching has been that what was called postpartum psychosis is actually a form of bipolar disorder. So what is important is to say, let's do a full evaluation of the individual's symptoms and signs, and then treat them and engage in treatment. And usually that's going to be a form of bipolar disorder treatment. That's the teaching that is the general perspective.
So with your wealth of knowledge on women that are pregnant and suffering from postpartum psychosis, do you know whether or not Lindsay was ever diagnosed with postpartum depression?
I believe that the various notes from the clinicians over the year of 2022, 2023 utilized the term unspecified mood disorder.
Right. How about postpartum depression?
I don't think that appellation was used.
Okay. So was she ever administered EPDS?
You mean the Edinburgh?
Yeah, was she ever administered that?
I don't know if she was or wasn't. I don't remember.
Isn't that something you're in here testifying about this case? Wouldn't that be important to know that she was almost off the chart on the Edinburgh scale for postnatal depression?
Well, I have said that she had depression.
Well, postnatal depression for a woman who's pregnant or had a baby recently is a heck of a lot different than some guy who's just depressed about his job, right?
I don't understand your question.
Well, do you know what her readings were on the Edinburgh test?
Not to my memory at the moment, no.
Why not? You read the medical records, didn't you?
I mean, if you would like to show me, I'd be
I don't
happy
want to show
review
you
it.
anything. I'm asking you as a testifying witness for this jury, did you look at her medical records?
I did.
And the medical records pertain to her being a person that just had a baby, right?
I'm not sure that which records you're talking about, but can I finish? Can I finish? Can I?
I'm not going to finish. 2022, obviously, because we already talked about the summer, she was fine. When did she see Tufts?
She started to see Dr. Tufts in 2022.
When?
I believe it was, well, she went to Dr. Tufts in September, and it was in October that she started taking the medication that Dr. Tufts had prescribed.
Okay, and that was for what?
You mean which medication, or what was the purpose?
Medication.
Sertraline.
And otherwise known as?
Zoloft.
And she took it after a while, is that correct? Is that what you said?
A few weeks, yes.
And the reason she didn't take it was what?
Time, as my evaluation.
Hold on,
Hold on a second, Doc. Sorry. All right, let's go ahead. You want me to re-ask that question?
I'm okay.
Okay.
So over time, Ms. Clancy has avoided taking medications.
She's what?
Avoided taking medications.
Says who?
The description she gave me.
She told you that?
My awareness from my evaluation is that she resists taking medications. And for example,
No. Tell me what you mean by she resists taking medications.
there are individuals in this world who do not want to take medications. And I think she described that she is one of them.
You know, she saw Dr. Tufts because she apparently was anxious, right?
Yes.
Prior to that, other than having anxiety about public speaking as a nurse in nursing school, and after she had one of her children, she didn't have any psychiatric history of medications, right?
She had not taken medications, but she had had a lifelong degree of anxiety. It hadn't been at the level of disorder, but she had had
Lifelong.
yes.
Okay, how about in grammar school, high school, college? Did she have difficulty that she was anxious?
So what I was saying is that anxiety can drive people, but she had a lot of anxiety and she was hardworking, and the anxiety helped her to be hardworking. But when it comes to medications,
Okay, hold on. Mr. Reddington, you can't, go ahead, Doctor, finish the question.
but when it comes to medications, she described that she didn't want to take medications. And an example was the time that after the birth of her second child, that sertraline had been prescribed, but she chose to get through her anxiety and depression by exercising. And that is something that people do. But it also highlights that in this case, she didn't want to be taking medications. And I think that we also understand that in the fall of 2022.
All right. At this point, I'm going to stop. Next question.
My question was, you said that she had a lifelong resistance to taking medication. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Then I asked you, grammar school, high school, college, did she have any records, any witnesses, any documents that she had a resistance to taking medication?
Only your description to me.
She didn't tell you that she was resistant to medication in grammar school and high school and college? What are you making this up?
Oh,
Yeah, sustain. Next question.
She didn't tell you that.
I understand her to have told me that generally she did not want to be taking medications. She didn't necessarily specify in grammar school, but that is her basic.
College.
Yes, I think that her description was as a adolescent and as a young adult, she was not interested in taking medications.
You really have that written down somewhere?
I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I believe that that's what I understand it to be.
You believe that's what it is? You don't know whether you have it written down somewhere, right?
Can I refer to my report?
Read the whole report. I don't care. Because it's not there.
Well, on page 8, what I had written was, Ms. Clancy's reluctance to take medication generally was accompanied by her concern for medications entering her breast milk. So the general...
Breast milk, she's pregnant. Come on. That's the only time that she indicates that she did not want to take, except for benzos, medication because she was breastfeeding, right?
I don't agree. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but my understanding is that she described that she generally did not want to take medication,
All right.
benzodiazepines included.
Let's not guess. All right. Let's look at Dr. Mack's report. Okay. Medication history. During the period before January 24, 23, she was taking several medications, and that would be Tufts and Gelada and all the rest of them, right?
And she didn't take them. There's
Okay.
Is that right?
bottles.
I didn't exactly hear your question. I'm sorry. Can you repeat it?
You said in your report, defendant was taking several medications that had been prescribed for her, right?
In the fall and December of 2022, yes.
So it's real easy. It's Tufts and Gelada that were prescribing these meds, right?
They were among the prescribers, yes.
All right. And her reluctance to take medication was accompanied by her concern for medications entering her what?
I believe it says breast milk.
Breast milk. Okay. So other than her concerns as a mother about her breast milk and having these drugs get into an infant's body, when else did she tell you that she was resistant, as you just told this jury, to taking medication? Like she's somebody who doesn't want to take the medication, doesn't care to take the medication. Where is it?
Overall.
Well, I didn't say that she didn't care.
Okay, how about she was resistant?
My recollection, and I'm happy to, if you would like me to spend time finding it.
Prove
I'd
you're
be
wrong,
happy
I
to.
know.
What?
Prove you're wrong. It's not in your report though, is it?
Okay.
It could be in his note.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Now, you had mentioned, sir, I believe that the DSM is something that you all use in your diagnoses of people, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that you are here to testify about would be postpartum issues, postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression, right?
Are you referring to postpartum psychosis, the disorder, the proposed disorder, or as a symptom?
Well, when you come in here as an expert, hired by the DA to tell this jury that this woman was not suffering from postpartum psychosis, and you in your testimony refer to the fact that you use the DSM to guide you, if that's the right word, in your diagnoses, would you agree with me that that's a fair statement?
That the DSM is the standard for making diagnoses? Yes.
Right. It's not a very good standard, though, is it?
Everybody uses it.
Well, it is the standard.
It is the standard. How about, are there other standards, sir, that, like, for example, World Health Organization, International Disease Control, IDC, have you ever heard of them?
Yes.
Okay. Does the IDC, what does that stand for?
The ICD.
What does that stand for?
The International Classification of Disease.
Does that classify postpartum psychosis?
I think it actually does not.
Does it classify, you think, are you sure?
My recollection is that it does not.
Okay. How about postpartum depression? Does the international category indicate that?
I'm not sure. We in the United States.
No. I'm asking about the other, the ICD or whatever it is.
Countries.
I don't know.
Okay, that's good enough. This here is what you're talking about, the DSM though, right? 5 TR, text revision, right?
Yes.
And you're talking about the fact that at some point in DSM-6, there it appears as though postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis will be added into the DSM-6. Is that correct?
Who said that?
No,
I'm asking you if that's what you mean when you told the jury about it possibly being put into the next edition.
and that he said it's been rejected.
There is a syndrome that's been proposed called postpartum psychosis. So I would differentiate that from the idea that the person of psychosis in a postpartum period. The syndrome, proposed syndrome of postpartum psychosis has not been included, and I am not aware that it is going to be included, although I understand there are calls for that. I would also say actually the movement for DSM-6 is not necessarily active at this point, but I would highlight again, because I wrote my college history thesis on the history of the DSMs.
What was it, DSM 1, 2, 3 back then?
Well, there's been a classification made by the American Medical Association going back to the end of the 19th century. DSM-1 was in 1952, DSM-2 was 1968, DSM-3 was 1980. The major change in 1980 was to fall in, as I discussed earlier, the descriptive model for diagnoses. And that is to say that since DSM-3, diagnostic groups are grouped, or disorders are grouped by what you see, what symptoms we are seeing, not by what we assume is the cause of the illness, and not by any theories about how the illness works. So since DSM-4 in 1994, as a part of making DSM-4, a literature review was completed by Dr. Ellen Frank, which indicated a roadmap for what to include in terms of postpartum designations. And since then, there's been what's called a specifier. So if you highlight depression, you can add a specifier to say when this depression occurred. The limit is that it's a 4-week limit. So under the rules of DSM, after 4 weeks, you wouldn't necessarily, well, you wouldn't call it postpartum. Postpartum psychosis, and here I'm referring mainly to literature, including a review in biological psychiatry in the last 12 months, is a proposal that there is a type of bipolar disorder called postpartum psychosis, where you can have mania or bipolar attributes, you can have depression, you can have delirium. Wow. And so when you think about the rules and the guidelines that have been in place since 1980 for revisions of the DSM, they look for, can this category be sufficiently separated from other categories? And does it help treatment? And over time, even though there have been calls, well, there have been hundreds of diagnoses that have been proposed or requested to be in the DSMs. Yes. Very few new diagnoses get inserted. And right now, that is the situation for the syndrome called postpartum psychosis, that it is not something that has been approved. And I know there are people who are calling for it, but in the current time.
Okay. Next question.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you. Are you aware, sir, that postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression are pretty much virtually not even mentioned in your DSM-5 TR?
I wouldn't agree with that. I was about to say.
So you would not agree with it, right?
Well, I was about to get to that.
Sure you were, but you would not agree with it, right? Is that correct?
I don't have a basis to say that.
Okay. So looking at, and this is 1,050 pages of people putting together like a cookbook, fair to say, right?
No, I wouldn't call it a cookbook.
No?
Cookbook.
Would you agree, sir, that postpartum is referred to page 147 in sex and gender-related diagnostic issues? Would you agree with that, sir?
Is that the introductory chapter?
This is the chapter, sir, that is pertinent to bipolar disorder. You're familiar with it.
Okay, so it's the bipolar chapter.
And referencing 147, sex and gender-related diagnostic issues. You're familiar with that, I imagine, right?
That's a subset. I mean, that's a portion of the chapter, I imagine, that describes.
Right, it's a paragraph.
Okay.
It's a paragraph. Out of 1,000 pages, it's a paragraph.
Okay.
What's your question?
Women may be more likely to experience rapid cycling and mixed states and to have patterns of comorbidity that differ from those of men, including higher rates of lifetime eating disorders. Come on. This is what they talk about with postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression, eating disorders, and the difference between women and men?
What's your question?
Is that your question? I'm not sure I understand your
How
question.
you answer it, yeah.
What's your question?
Postpartum disorders, sir, the difference between women and men, and they make reference to eating disorders?
Well, I think the section header, if you don't mind reading it again, was aspects about gender. And so in that section, I imagine they're describing it. I didn't write the DSM, so I'm not here to represent it.
Okay,
I can just tell you about it.
all right. Okay, right here, sex and gender-related diagnostic issues, right? Would you agree that's under the bipolar and related disorder section?
Yeah.
The DSM, okay. Page 147 talks about women more likely to experience rapid cycling and mixed states and have patterns of comorbidity that differ from those of men, including higher rates of lifetime eating disorders, right? Did I read that right? That's all right. Okay. And then it goes on for the rest of the paragraph that women with bipolar 1, read along, or 2 disorder are more likely to experience depressive symptoms than are men. Did I read that right? Yeah. That they, meaning women apparently, have a higher lifetime risk of alcohol use disorder than men. Really? Did I read that right?
Yes.
And that they also and much greater likelihood of alcohol misuse disorder than women in the general population. Some women with bipolar disorder experience exacerbation of mood symptoms during their premenstrual time period.
Well, men don't have periods, so they're not going to experience it.
And that this has been associated with a worse course of illness. Many women with bipolar disorder also report severe emotional disturbances during perimenopause when estrogen levels are decreasing. Did I read that right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Wait, because
It does say that.
okay. And that there does not appear to be an increased risk of mood episodes in pregnant women with bipolar disorder, except for those who discontinue medications for pregnancy, right? Is that what it says that in the DSM?
That would happen if
So
they.
what does that tell you?
Their medication.
25 words or less, sir, when that sentence
What is
where
it?
it talks about,
You don't
there
understand.
does not appear to be an increased risk of mood episodes in pregnant women with bipolar disorder, except for those who discontinue medication for pregnancy. What does that mean?
What it means is when thinking about women who have bipolar disorder who are pregnant, the risk of having either a manic episode or a hypomanic episode or a depressive episode generally
So your
is
child.
stable compared to when the person is not pregnant, except in people who do not take medications for bipolar during the pregnancy.
And then it goes on to read, the specifier with peripartum onset should be used for mood episodes that begin during pregnancy or within 4 weeks of delivery. Is that the 4-week cutoff that you're telling me about?
Because they're trying to get back on their medicine, or they're not doing it because they're breastfeeding.
The peripartum specifier.
When was this last amended? 1958?
You're talking about a 4-week number?
Yeah.
That was created in DSM-4 in 1994.
And how about the World Health Organization? What's their cutoff using that term?
I don't know.
How
I can
about
tell
the-
you that
how
the
about the-
proponents
Go
of
ahead.
postpartum psychosis illness utilize, I believe, 12 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, but not more than 12.
How about the, what is it, IDC, ICD?
The World Health Organization's international
If I
classification.
tell you it's a year, would that mean anything to you? It's not 6, maybe 12, it's a year.
Does it mean anything to me?
Yeah, does it mean anything to you?
No.
With regard to what?
It's a
We
year.
live in
We're
America.
talking about 4 weeks, but they're referring to a year.
Well, the
Europe-
distinction between the ICD and the DSM is substantial. The DSM,
All right. Mr. Reddington, why don't you ask a question?
Thank you. So would you agree with me, sir, that the way that women are treated postpartum, after having babies, prior to having babies.
In America.
Europe is a heck of a lot different than we treat women here, right?
Objection.
Objection.
Sustained.
This is the United States
So
courtroom.
that paragraph. that we
I'm
just
trying to
went
bring it in.
We're talking about sex and gender-related diagnostic issues, right?
Yes.
They mentioned the words postpartum, period. They mentioned, I don't mean period like the end of the sentence, I mean postpartum, period. They mentioned that, right?
Yes.
And I read that correct. That's a paragraph, right?
Yes.
And then out of the 1,050 pages, we can then go to another, page 156. Sex and gender-related diagnostic issues. And it makes reference to the gender ratio for bipolar 1 disorder, right?
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Would you agree that the gender ratio for bipolar 1 disorder is equal between women and men?
Yes.
And does it then go on and say that bipolar 2 disorder are mixed, differing by type or sample? There is little or no evidence of bipolar gender difference in the general population. And some, but not all, clinical examples suggested bipolar 2 disorder is more common in women than in men. Is that right?
It may be.
It
As
may
I
be
was-
because you want to look at it, or it may be because they might be wrong.
Well, women have depression more than men, unfortunately. And so that is something that it gets reflected when it comes to bipolar type 2.
So patterns of illness and comorbidity, however, differ by sex, with females being more likely than males to report hypomania. Does that sound right?
It sounds right.
And that women would have mixed depressive features and a rapid cycling course, correct?
That sounds right.
And childbirth may be a trigger for the hypomanic episode, which can occur in 10 to 20% of females. In non-clinical populations, most typically in the early postpartum period. Does that sound right to you?
It sounds, I mean, you're reading it, so I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And there's a big difference between DSM and WHO, right?
I don't know the WHO's 12 months, what it refers to. When it comes to the proposed postpartum psychosis, one of the elements of the proposal is that it is particularly related to the physiologic changes that happen at the time of birth. And actually, one of the objections that that group has to the way that the DSM is written right now is that they would like it to be solely post-birth rather than one that encompasses pregnancy and birth, because it aligns with the theory that this type of disorder is related to those physiologic changes. So the timing of being closest to birth is instrumental in that proposal for postpartum psychosis, the disorder. When it's described as a disorder that occurs almost right away at the time of birth. And it is urgent.
Who says that? Who?
The literature on postpartum psychosis, whether it's
What
postpartum
literature?
psychosis.
What literature? It's not in the Bible, right?
It's not in the Bible, but the reports by the people who are advocates, an expert consensus panel who are advocates for inclusion of the syndrome of postpartum psychosis.
And they've been trying
describe
real
it.
hard.
Let him finish.
Well, he's just going to go on for another half hour.
I'll
Oh, gee.
finish, Doctor. Go ahead.
I don't have anything more, sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Would you agree with me, sir, as it relates to this panel of people that you're talking about? These are the people that are trying to get postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression into the DSM-6, right?
I don't think they're trying to get postpartum depression included because it already is there.
In the two paragraphs that I just read?
No.
Okay, is there somewhere else that talks about postpartum depression?
Yes.
Okay, where?
Well, the report mentions, and I'll find for you what are called the specifiers, where for both bipolar disorder and also for depressive disorders,
There you go.
Well, it's in there, but I'll find it in the book.
Okay. Why don't you look for it?
Why don't we do one thing at a time?
Yeah, I'd
Right?
like to.
Why don't- and that
finish
would
speaking.
be, you said you're going to find it. Just find it.
Okay.
And then once you find it, then we'll go on to the second part, which would be asking questions and answering questions.
The judge is having such a shift. I don't understand how this isn't badgering the witness at this point.
Right here on page 173.
Read it.
I'll describe what I'm talking about before I read it, if that's okay. So this is the section, actually starts on page 169, where it goes through what are called the specifiers for the bipolar disorders. And so those include with atypical features, with rapid cycling, with melancholic features. And here on page 173 is the portion about with peripartum onset.
Read it. Read it.
Well, let me see how many paragraphs it is. It's many paragraphs. You want me to read all of them?
No, that's all right. Just
Okay.
summarize it as best you can.
What I would summarize, and a similar passage is in the chapter on depressive disorders, is that it provides a way to designate that somebody's depressive disorder, or in this case, their bipolar disorder, had peripartum onset. Now that's important, and they provide a lot of important information there about epidemiology and the course, by course I mean how it's going to go in terms of the disease. That's what the DSM does. Besides giving criteria for disorders, it provides basic information about course, epidemiology, and the features that the individual has. So there's a similar section in the depressive disorders.
Let's stick with the section that you just pointed out. Okay?
Yes, sir.
You agree with me in a nutshell that talks about with psychotic features, delusions, hallucinations present at any time in the current manic or major depressive episode in bipolar 1 disorder, right?
No, I'd have to see where you're reading from.
Okay, sure, it's right here.
Yeah, but that's a different portion.
No, that's what you were reading from. Okay,
No,
so
sir.
how about down below here where it says with peripartum onset?
Yes, that was what I was referring
The
to.
specifier, what's a specifier?
So the system has a way where we can emphasize features of a person's illness. Remember, as I said, the groupings in the DSM revolve around the major psychiatric symptoms. So this is the bipolar chapter, there's a depression chapter, there's an anxiety chapter. So here, the specifier is our way of communicating that the person's problem, in this case, has peripartum onset.
Okay.
And as if I could connect it all, the emphasis on the proposed postpartum psychosis disorder, they object to it being peripartum. They would like it to be postpartum.
And who's they?
The authors of the expert consensus group that I referred to published a paper in biological psychiatry in the last year.
About what? I mean, psychiatry covers a large ground.
Yes. It's a paper that summarizes information about this proposed disorder, highlights their assumption that it is actually a type of bipolar disorder.
Can I just interrupt? What disorder are you referring to?
The proposed postpartum psychosis disorder.
All right. So there is a group of people that are trying, to your knowledge, to get postpartum disorder in the next version of the Bible, right?
Effectively, yes,
Okay.
but I wouldn't use all those words, but yes.
Okay. And then when you're referring to the peripartum onset, in one paragraph, you're talking about the specifier applied to current manic, hypomanic, or major depressive episode in bipolar 1 disorder, right? Did I read that right?
Well, it's more than just one
Okay, let's
paragraph. It
just
goes
stick
on
with-
to
let's
all
just
the
stick
next
with
All right, counsel, let me see counsel at sidebar here. Just you guys.
Yeah, you're really stretching
Schedule.
this. You're reaching, you're grasping at straws. You're trying to bring in all this shit that you're not listening to what he's saying. And that's why he keeps saying no, and you're arguing with him on the stand. You're arguing with him. You're trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole there, Reddington. The fact that he could just like flip through the book and pull it up for you. Now you're like, oh, okay, well, now it's another paragraph. Now it's here. Now we'll just go with these qualifiers. Love it. He's like, it is 3:53. We're gonna end for the day and start tomorrow because I'm over this. The judge is so mad. He's sitting there like this. He's like, I've had enough of the shenanigans. And they have another. I guarantee they have another person to bring on, and they still. I guarantee they're gonna recross this guy. Because they're writing notes like mad. They thought they were going to do jury shit to Monday. Or Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Reddington's in the stage of, my guy's better than your guy. This is hilarious. Rebuttal witness. That's what I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the name of it. I know they got at least one more rebuttal witness. They've got to get her diving out the window. I don't know how Reddington thinks that this is such a good for his case, arguing with the a guy like this.
Members of the jury, we're going to break at this point. All right. So you know what I'm going to tell you. All right. You've now heard more evidence. You've heard testimony from a number of people. You've gotten more and more exhibits, but you still have to keep that open mind. All right. Because you haven't heard all the evidence. You haven't heard the closing arguments, as I've said before. You haven't even heard the law that you are to apply to this in arriving at your verdict. So I'm going to stress, as I always do, don't talk about this case. Don't read anything about it. Don't listen to anything about it. Just guard against that and really keep an open mind. All right. So I'm going to excuse you till Monday morning. And then I ask you to be here hopefully at 9 o'clock. We'll come back out and we'll continue with the evidence. All right. And as I'm telling you, we are well on schedule. All right. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but in case you're wondering, we are definitely well on schedule, much because of your work on this. So I hope everybody has a nice weekend. Maybe it'll stop raining, get outside a little bit. So again, thank you for all your time and dedication on this, and we'll see you on Monday. Okay.
All right,
I knew it. He was usually 3:30. He wants to be out of there. It's almost 4 o'clock. He's like, I've had enough of this.
The forum is closed in session.
Dr. May, sit down.
Oh, am I excused, sir?
You talk to the TAs up for you guys' schedule. We did discuss that. Okay. All right. Counsel, anything else we need to address before Monday?
No.
No, Your Honor.
All right, and so the plan would be, we'll continue with the Commonwealth's rebuttal. At some point, we'll do the final charge conference, and we'll go from there. So I want to thank everybody for their work. I hope everybody has a nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was funny. Okay, so that's the end of that. That's hilarious. Gotta laugh at that. All right, so, well, that's the end of court today. Figured it would be wild, wild work. So I will see you all Monday morning for the rest of this shit show. Till next time.
Man, club just a system, but the deck's set to fail. You speak for transparency, they call it a crime. Next day, you suspended for 6 months of your time. Pedigree, politics, trophies on the wall. Vanity awards while the ethics take a fall. They say it's for the free, but we know what it is. Power in the club, how silence in the beer. Pedigree, politics, ribbons and lies. Smiles at the banquet, but the truth in disguise. You can muzzle the voice, but the truth don't crit. Dog show, kingdom built on counterfeit grit.